Hello, and welcome to another edition of Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. I'm your host, Steve Plumb, Editor-in-Chief of SME Media, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Steve Bauer, Digital Content Producer. Steve, great to see you again.
Great to see you as well, Steve.
Even though we're only a few rows over from each other, we don't always see each other, especially as we've been traveling throughout the last couple of months.
That's true.
And I have to admit, I'm a little bit jealous. You got to go to one of my favorite non-SME sponsored shows, Automate in Chicago, which happened a couple weeks ago in June at McCormick Place. I think it was your first time there, right?
Yeah, it was my first time there. Although I've worked kind of in the capacity in manufacturing over the last couple of years where I've had opportunities. This was my first time I've actually been able to make it to Automate. So it was really exciting.
So Chicago's pretty close to Detroit, but there's several different ways to get to the show. You opted to take the train this time, and you're all the way out in Waterford, which is a good half hour or so outside of Detroit. What was your method?
So it's not the first time I took the Amtrak to Chicago, but it has been about a decade. So yeah, I took the train right from its where it starts. So that route actually starts in Pontiac and finishes out in Chicago, then comes right on back and finishes out in Pontiac. So I got to ride the entire route from Pontiac to Chicago.
I know you got up bright and early on that Monday morning to make the trek out there. What were you expecting to see, and what were your initial impressions?
So I mean, I was really expecting to see robots. I mean, when you think of Automate, you think of robotics. I mean, there was and what actually really surprised me is there was a lot more than just robotics there. I mean, you had companies that were optics companies, so they made just lenses for cameras. You had grippers, they specialized in just the gripping, the end of the robot to grab for pick and place. So I was really kind of blown away just by all the different companies and the different facets of automation that go into making a total full solution that you just don't really think about.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit. Let's set the scorecard for the listeners. Automate, produced by A3, but how big are we talking about? How many exhibitors? How many products? What was it like? McCormick Place is massive, but to take up all of McCormick?
So it took up two of the four halls. So it was in North Hall and South Hall, and there was over 1,000 exhibitors this year. And let me tell you, there was definitely over 1,000, and I did not see them all as much as I tried. I tried to walk up and down every row, but I could not see everything that was at Automate. It was huge.
Yeah, even on the speed version of some of the videos you shot there, where you're going up and down the aisle, it definitely looked like there were a lot to see. What stood out? What were some of the highlights?
So, they had the humanoid pavilion this year. So that was kind of all the robots that were, made and designed to look like their human counterparts. And so you saw, a lot of like service robots, robotic baristas, robotic bartenders. And, right now they're a little bit slower. The technology is kind of in its infancy a little bit, but you can really see, in the next couple of years how much that's going to explode. And, before you know it, you're probably going to be ordering your favorite caffeinated beverage from a robotic barista.
Yeah, I think you said it was actually called the Humanoid Pavilion, which sounds like something out of a futuristic sci-fi movie. You know,
Yeah.
there's been some debate on do we need robots that look like humans, you know, especially with two legs that are operating in a plant. Were they doing traditional manufacturing activities? You know, it's fun to see the baristas and, but
I'd say for the humanoid robots, a lot of the technology you're seeing right now isn't going to be as manufacturing focused as it is more, I guess, novelty wise. You saw there was a humanoid robot walking its robotic dog. So, I mean, if you buy one of those robotic dogs and you can't get it out for a walk, you can always buy yourself one of those humanoid robots and have that take the dog for a walk for you. Um, but when it comes to the stuff that's more traditional manufacturing, you really are that's going to be more of the like industrial robots, the picking and placing items, moving things around. I tend to see those more so on the manufacturing side than the humanoid robots.
yeah, so you came from a manufacturing background. You worked at a nearby company for the last 10 years or so. What were you guys using robots for, and what were some of the untapped potential that you saw there?
So I worked for a company that made assembly tools. And so we kind of the space that we were in was more of kind of an integrator. So, end of arm tooling. The way that I was seeing my previous company utilizing automation was really just to integrate a lot of the various components together. Like I mentioned, you have your vision systems, you've got your cobots, you've got your end of arm tooling. All of those things need to be integrated together, and they all have to be speaking the same language so that they can all work together. And so that's kind of what I was seeing at my previous role in automation, just how trying to integrate all of those pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah. So at Automate, there's always some good keynote speakers there, and some of my favorite people and companies. Will Healy, I know you from Universal Robots or Teradyne. I know you spoke to him there. Any trends or insights that he shared with you?
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely I got a chance to sit down with Will Healy of Teradyne, Universal Robots, and I think one of the trends that we're really starting to see is this machine learning in the real world. So, you see it a lot in software where the way that the machine learning works is it'll learn through trial and error, and it's kind of like you set it off on its own, and it just through different iterations and as it fails it learns. You're starting to see this in real world applications with robotic arms. Teradyne has this really cool setup at their booth where you get a person controlling these robotic arms, teaching the robot how to fold a box, and through the trial and error of the human doing it, it was teaching the robot. And then they had another setup where the robot was doing it completely with no human intervention at all. So there was a lot of failure on that side where you'd watch the robot go to pick the box up and try to fold it, and it would either rip something, or the box would fold in a different manner than it was supposed to. But it's learning through failure. And so it's really cool to see, a lot of these the technologies that were, starting off in the software world, to see it in the real world and being able to interact with humans.
So Universal also is big into, in fact, I think they may have been the first into the space of cobots or collaborative robots, which aren't as fast as traditional robots, but they're safer and they interact with humans. Was that a big part of this show, or is that waned at all?
Looking at all the booths, there was a cobot arm in almost every booth. So I mean, you really look at the big players like Universal Robots, ABB, Fanuc. They were in almost every booth there. So the collaborative robots are here to stay for sure. They're definitely they played a huge role in the show, and I think they'll continue to play a huge role.
And I think you said you had spoken with Bosch Rexroth as well.
Yep, I made it over to their booth and got to check out some of their conveyance technologies. They had a tech demo set up where they were really integrating all of their technologies into one big demonstration that just kind of really showcased how everything works together. And like I mentioned, being an integrator, like the how automation is kind of requires a lot of integration. It can be difficult sometimes to really understand how they all work together. So it was really cool at the Bosch Rexroth booth being able to see all of these technologies working in unison.
Yeah. You mentioned machine learning, which is another version is artificial intelligence. The next step up. You and I were on a call recently with an AI-based company and talking about applications that are already out there and really focusing on welding, grinding, some of the traditional manufacturing jobs, some which can be manual labor intensive, can be grueling work. Did you get a sense that that's really what the focus is on for these types of applications?
Sure, yeah, I think the big focus really is on trying to have automation take these take on these jobs that have traditionally been very destructive on the human body. You mentioned the grinding and stuff. I sat down with Google, and they partnered with Titan Robotics to do an automated grinding solution. And it was really interesting to see how they tackled that, because grinding historically has been a very just dangerous manufacturing process. I mean, you think about a tool that's spinning at 10,000 RPMs, and it's constantly vibrating. So finding ways to automate that so that a human doesn't have to destroy their body to do it is huge. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that going forward.
Yeah. Any other highlights from the show that you saw?
Yeah, I mean, some pretty cool stuff. There was Phoenix connectors. They gamified their solutions. So their entire trade show booth was set up like an arcade. So it was really cool. There was a lot of buzz over there, and it was set up in a way where you were able to understand how their technologies work because they set it up like a game. So it was really, really interesting and a really fun way to learn what they were doing and how it worked.
Yeah, gamification is definitely becoming a bigger part of the industry. We have an upcoming article in Manufacturing Engineering and Technology on the gamification of safety training. It just really makes it easier and more accessible to get, especially next generation workforce that may not have as much experience in manufacturing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives you the sense of what the job is. And because I think that's also a big thing. We were just at Fusion a couple months ago at this point, and just trying to get that next generation interested in manufacturing is a part of it is just knowing that these jobs exist and knowing how how it works. If they don't know what those jobs entail, then it's harder to get them into it. So the gamification is really huge into enticing that next generation workforce.
Yeah, was the attendee pretty broad-based cross section of people there?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a quite a broad cross section. There's everybody from teenagers to people who have been in the veterans of the manufacturing industry. It was not homogenous at all.
Yeah, and I think the next iteration of Automate is in Las Vegas, so I'm sure that will attract some
Oh
people.
yeah.
Uh, next May. Um, Steve, thanks for taking the time to talk about Automate.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely a subject that we'll continue to cover. And for more videos that you shot at the show, where can people find them?
Like and subscribe to our feed.
Advancedmanufacturing.org. Check out all the great videos that Steve shot at the show. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve.